Deebo has not rescinded his trade request. Coach, how do you interpret that news?
I think he's just keeping his leverage, right? Like, so his contract it's not done yet. So why would you rescind that? You got to keep as much leverage as you can because he doesn't have that much. I think in this scenario, right? They have control over his rights, so he's got to keep what leverage he can, and that trade request is the leverage that he's got. So
my question is, did he need to do this to have leverage? I mean, he just went to he just had an all-pro season. I mean, AJ Brown just kind of set the market. Why would the 49ers offer him less than the Eagles offered AJ Brown? I mean, was this necessary? Does this help?
I mean, to be honest, I think the Niners are like, whatever. Like, I think they pretty much just ignored the trade request, right? Like I guess they fielded offers, like, unless you blew them away, they weren't even considered, like, offers that nobody would even offer them. That those are the offers that they were like, they wanted 2 first-round picks, which nobody was interested in giving. So they didn't really field any realistic trade offers by all accounts.
So. Yeah. So what is Deebo going to do here? I mean, he showed up to minicamp. I think that was more about not getting fined than softening his stance or anything changing. I just didn't want to get fined. So that means he probably won't hold out from training camp because you would get fined. I think it's $50,000 a day in training camp. So he won't do that. But if he's just making it seem like he's so upset, and this is DEFCON 4. Is there any way that the Niners come in a little bit below what he wants, and he's just like, you know what? I'm just going to play out my contract, and if you want to give me a fully guaranteed, franchise tag, then so be it. Probably not.
No, not the way Deebo's lifestyle is. Like, he's going to want that cash now. I mean, and most people, and honestly, even that lifestyle aside, like, most players are going to want the cash now. They're not going to want to take the risk of just playing on a.
That's why this feels like a stupid drama to me. Like, we all know we all know exactly what he's going to. He's going to get the AJ Brown contract, and like, so this trade requests and all this drama. It's like, we know pretty much down to the cent what he's going to get. So what's the big deal anyway?
And we all know why. I think we all know why he's not getting it right now, because there's another guy on their roster right now that's taking up the cap room for the.
Also, the Niners are very much like, we have a precedent. We do these things at the end of we don't want to break our precedent for you. This is a July deal. Be patient. But I mean,
that's probably what they've told him. But they couldn't even do it even if they wanted to, right? Like,
well, I think it's okay because the Browns are going to trade 3 first-round picks for Jimmy Garoppolo any day now.
Oh, yeah.
I've been thinking about that. Like, I've been saying, the Browns really seem like the likely trade partner for Jimmy Garoppolo because they're in such a tough spot. I can't imagine a worse pairing than Jimmy Garoppolo and Amari Cooper. And if you don't believe me, call up Brandon Ayuk, who's quite similar to Amari Cooper. I mean, geez, you're going to ask Amari Cooper to be Deebo? Amari's going to be hurt. Can't play.
What if Jimmy Garoppolo goes to, like, the Browns and they just starts hucking it downfield and
he has 5 completions and 5 picks on throws over 30 yards in his career. I'll believe it when I see it. He can't even do it in practice.
Right. No,
I like you, though. But I like what you're saying. Like, there's this fantasy that Jimmy's going to leave. Not fantasy, but hey, what if he goes and tears it up somewhere else? I'd freaking love to see it because I think he's had the best situation he could have the last 3 years. Kittle, Deebo, the Yak brothers. The running game, the defense, like, what more is it? What is the next team going to give him that the Niners didn't give him? I'd love to see him on his next team.
Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting, right? If he does, like, for instance, if he goes to Cleveland, and I was watching you and Krug talk yesterday, and it was really interesting when you guys were talking about how Trey Lance was going to get treated, and that's exactly how I thought. Like, it's going to be really difficult for him because the people that don't like Trey Lance are going to judge him so harshly. You're going to be like, oh, like, he's not going to be able to do anything right. And then the people that watch
passes won't. It'd be like, well, the guy had to stop, or it was a wobble. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and then the people that love Trey Lance are going to be all over it and be like, oh wow, did you see this? You see that? So it's
also making excuses for him.
Yeah, making excuses and
blaming others.
But so now you're gonna have the Jimmy G people that if he goes to the Browns and stinks it up, they're gonna be like, oh well, it's Cleveland, like they're a terrible organization. Like of course it's not his fault. Like if you put him on a real organization like the 49ers, then he'll tear it up. Look, he went Super Bowl, almost went to another one. Like
right,
so
yeah, he'll tear it up, but not win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this whole Deebo drama feels like a non-story that we covered very closely because Deebo like ratcheted up the tension a little bit, but I still think he's going to get pretty much exactly the AJ Brown contract, and none of this was necessary. But I guess we made, gave us stuff to talk about. We made money, so that's great. Thanks, Deebo. Put it that way.
He helped you out.
Yeah, he did. He did. All right, let's move on and talk about the topic of the show. The position group that will determine the 49ers' success in 2022. If you don't mind, I'll go first. I'm not going to make a big thing about it. But I feel like this season is all about the quarterback position. The Niners haven't said who it's going to be. They're making a transition. It's probably going to be Lance. He hasn't had an experience. And everyone's talking about pretty much, the team's going to go how Lance goes. Probably. But I don't know about you. I'm pretty optimistic about Lance. I've seen him practice a lot. We've seen some glimpses. He looks good. He's very talented. My question really, and I feel like the people who think this team's going to be really good believe in this one position group on this team. And the people that are kind of down on the team, like me, are really skeptical of this one position group, and it's a big question mark. The offensive line, to me, is going to determine how good this team is. We know they've got an elite defense. Every freaking year they have an elite defense. They can run block. I think Trey Lance is going to be an improvement at quarterback. I wonder if they've downgraded at offensive line so much so that this is going to be a big problem. Because in 2020, to me, the issue was the offensive line. They led the league in quarterback hits allowed. Last year, they cut it in half. The offensive line had 3 Pro Bowlers. 3 of the guys on that team, on that offensive line, were good. And the other 2 were decent. I don't know, like, what is this offensive line this year? Is it back to total uncertainty? And if it is, I think that really can ruin a whole team.
I would generally agree with that, but I'm just going to say the quarterback just because the quarterback, because look what happens in the past even with Jimmy Garoppolo, when Jimmy Garoppolo plays, the 49ers and that's Jimmy, who we all or most of us have a lot of reservations about. But when he played, they actually did well. When backups played, they did not. So I think, and this is throughout the league. I mean, ultimately, your quarterback generally can determine your success. Now, could Patrick Mahomes be on, I don't know, the most garbage team and go to the Super Bowl? No, but he would make them a lot better, right? Like,
you're right. I just have a lot of maybe too much, but I have a lot of confidence in Lance. I feel like he's definitely an upgrade over Jimmy. And I base that on watching a couple games and some practice. I understand it's a stretch, and he's an unknown too, but I do feel more confident in him than I feel in Aaron Banks or Jake Brendel or Mike McGlinchey. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that to me, I think the value of a good quarterback is like 2 to 3 players, right? So it's like, so
I agree.
If he's that guy, right? It's like it's almost like you're adding a guard. Like there's not a guard per se there, but it's like you're upgrading a guard because your quarterback is better,
right? And again, that he might be a downgrade. I just feel like he's going to be better. I almost feel like I know what to expect. Maybe that's crazy because we don't. I just feel like, he's going to be pretty good.
I feel like it is too. I mean, and so I think I think and I also think that I think at worst he's the same as Jimmy Garoppolo, and
at worst,
if at worst he's the same as Jimmy Garoppolo and the team is equal to what it was last year, then they should be in the same.
I mean, but like the 11-on-11 run game he had, like the run game has to be better unless the offensive line is just total trash. And I don't know that it's going to be total trash, although it's really hard to know what to expect with that left guard and that center. Those 2 guys, wow. No idea.
One thing you say, I think you can say with the Niners line is that even when guys get hurt and they replace guys, they tend to still be able to run the ball.
That's true.
Like their backups can still run the ball. Like, so I would expect them to still have a strong run game. The question would be, is pass pro, right? Which they're questionable. Some of those guys are even questionable when the starters do play, right? Like, I mean, obviously Trent Williams, he's a man on his own. But some of those other guys, I think there's a lot of questions about. Like,
look, I mean, McGlinchey, the question with him is like, can he recover and be what he used to be? Because a lot of people felt he was good enough. Maybe he was. I mean, not for a top 10 pick, but maybe he was a good enough starting right tackle. I really have questions about Banks and Brendel. Like, is Banks Josh Garnett? You know, he's one of these guys that's like, wow, you can't play. We have no idea what to expect from him. And the fact that he was inactive all the last year makes me wonder. Like, I guess we'll see. And Brendel too. Like, are these guys even starting caliber? Because Brunskill is a solid as a stretch. He's a decent starting guard. Is Banks? Or is he a liability? Is Brendel a liability? Because they didn't have any liabilities last year. Compton was terrible in pass protection. Really bad. But he was a hell of a run blocker. And he was the only really, really bad pass protector on the team. So he was terrible, though. So bad.
I know what's going to happen. If Banks ends up being good, like you're gonna be like, why the hell didn't he play last year? Like this guy, he couldn't be active. Like,
real quick, what do you think he's gonna end up being good or not? Gut feeling, given we haven't seen it.
I'm gonna say okay. I'm gonna say he's gonna be okay. Well,
I think he's going to be the weakest link on the team, on the offense. I think he's going to be the weakest link.
You know what? Here's what may happen is they're gonna let him play because they drafted him in the second round, and then he's gonna have to play his way out of it and get supplanted by one of those other guys.
He's gonna get here's my prediction. He's gonna get the Trey Sermon treatment from last year. He's gonna get all the reps with the first team, preseason training camp. They're gonna get a real long look at him, and then week 1, surprise! It's Colt McKivitz or something. You know what I mean? It's someone else. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. They're going to give him all the reps, though, and give him a very, very, give him a red carpet to take this job. I don't know if he'll take it. We'll see. We'll see.
You'll be there to find out.
Brandon Turner says, will this offensive line keep Lance healthy enough this year to get through the season? I mean, that's, to me, the question. That is the question. He got hurt twice last year. Once was in the pocket. Now that was in the preseason playing behind guys who were not in the league. But again, 2020, a lot of people felt that was all Nick Mullins' fault. Maybe, but the Niners also led the league in quarterback hits that year. They went through 3 quarterbacks. If that happens again, I mean, they're screwed. So a big reason they were better last year is Jimmy didn't get hit as much.
Right. He did get hurt though.
I mean, going from Ben Garland or Hronis Grasu to Alex Mack was a big deal. Mack gave up 1 sack last year, I think. Just saying.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Go ahead.
No, I just gonna say I do have a lot of questions about that center position. I mean, it's been so imperative in the past, and now you're going with Jake Brendel.
So I was looking up some stats. Alex Mack gave up 1 sack in like almost 600 pass blocking snaps last year. Excellent, but usually centers aren't going aren't getting singled up in pass pro anyway. But Brendel, 2018, last time he played, 85 pass blocking snaps, 2 sacks allowed. This was 4 years ago, but boy, I hope Chris Forrester's right on this one, man. I mean, I don't really care, actually. I'm lying.
You hope he's wrong because
yeah, really?
you want to be right.